Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much for putting this panel together. I think it's an excellent forum to try to get some real points across here. First off, I want to bring it back to the idea of where the survey community fits in this process. But before I do that, I want to offer a suggestion to Kurt. I'm 55 years old as well, and have been a professional land surveyor all my life. And if you want to reverse that aging process, try a different shirt.
Sure.
Couldn't resist, sorry. Back to bringing this back to where the surveying profession fits in. As a licensed land surveyor for 25 years and a GIS practitioner for over 21 years now, I've never considered myself out of the profession. By that, what I really mean is if you stop and look back a few years ago, 20 years ago, where GIS was at and where it is today, and where the surveying profession is at and where it is today, you'll see that it was cost prohibitive for GIS systems to be built using survey technologies back then. That's no longer the case. We're living in a real-world digitizing environment where we're out collecting GPS and using that to bring about and populate GIS systems. So what I really want to address to the panel is, do you see our opportunities? I heard the comment about we've already missed that boat. Do you guys see the boat coming back around and the technologies being more affordable, and what we do is a bigger part of what ESRI is trying to do in bringing an accurate cadastral and data systems together as being an important part of where we can really get back on that boat?
Who wants to take this?
Go ahead, John. I'll go next.
I was going to say absolutely yes. I think that is the case. We heard some really good presentations today on some of the software available to do that, to manage data starting in our own businesses and for our own clients. We heard things like value added, trusted advisor. Those are funny because I chuckle when I said those are on my company brochures. That's what we call ourselves, trusted advisors, and we add value to your project. That's why you hire us. We're not just a purveyor of measurements or maps. We add value to what you want. And that, to me, the boat never left the dock. That boat's always been there for us to do that. And I think it's a matter of members of our profession realizing through technology that we have the great technology available to us today, great software available to us today at reasonable prices and merit to the value of the work, that's what's going to happen. Not unlike the days of nobody using GPS. My company was the first privately owned firm in Michigan to buy GPS. We bought it in 1987. We did a huge project for Shell Oil, tied two national forests together, and I'm not sure we ever used it again because it was worthless. It was absolutely useless equipment for anything else but that very large project. And today, who doesn't have GPS? Not too many people. Two-person firms have GPS. The technology, one-person firms have GPS. The technology's there, and that's what they use. So I think the same thing can be said for the technology related to GIS systems. It's there for us to use.
I was going to say the same thing. I don't think it ever left the dock. I think the opportunities are out there. In response to your comment about the shirt, I was going to wear my shirt with the Les Paul guitar on the back, but Donnie Sosa was afraid I'd try to sing with the band tonight.
And that was a good fear on Donnie's part.
All right, next question.
Okay, there was a question earlier about becoming certified as a GIS, and I heard back there somebody has been for 6 months, and I think up through December you could grandfather in as a GIS professional, and now you do have to go through a rigorous requirement to become that GIS professional. So we getting that into the deal. But there's the two comments I have is I'm more of a Renaissance type of woman with multiple skills and steps away from being licenses and a couple different things, and it becomes very cost prohibitive to stay that broad view, big vision type of person that can fit in and help with projects, because it becomes costly when you get like this. There is that kind of thing to not become so pigeonholed. And I think that it's the liability to become so pigeonholed that you forget the language of the partnering teammates that you need to complete the project. And I think that's very critical. The other thing is I'm finding more and more folks, including EITs, PEs, and LSITs, taking GIS information data from wherever without knowing where it came from, who created it, how current it is, or how accurate or precise it might be, and they're actually beginning to do design work from it. And this is what kind of scares me. And the more that I hear these other professions that should know better come up and say, oh, well, I'll just take the contours off of this. I got some great LiDAR. Well, excuse me, but I know of a huge development project that sued somebody because of some GIS picture that came out that got second or third hand and decided to start building a subdevelopment on it. Contours were wrong, and the original GIS producer of that, which was supposed to be an in-house only product, got out of house, became sued, and lost. So a precedent has been set now. So I'm really concerned about that kind of.
Be cautious about driving drunk. Is that the message?
Yeah.
Well, you know,
I do have, there's something that you can look at here as a reference. ARC News, fall 2008, lead article by Harlan Onsrud of University of Maine, which spoke about ethics and morals in a GIS environment. And it's not just to the licensed professional, the surveyors and whatnot, but that's what we need to have. That's one of the components of the system, is ethics and morals. And I'm assuming that we're the leaders here today. So it's up to us to demand from our colleagues that they have ethics and morals when it comes to these systems.
I think the other thing is, in any profession, I don't care what it is I've been involved in with a number of organizations, and there's always folks who cut corners. Always. Michigan used to have a group called the Michigan Association of Professions, which had doctors, lawyers, dentists, school board or school superintendents, so forth. And every meeting I went to, I was amazed because they all had complained about the same things I heard at my surveyor meeting the night before. Somebody was always cutting somebody's corner. Somebody was always doing something wrong. And the way we have to do is make sure we're not part of that group, and that we do everything we can to train our families, our staffs, our fellow professionals to never be in that group. There's always somebody that's going to be.
Since we have all these leaders of societies here on the panel, what is the role of the societies in promoting the practice of good ethical practices?
Go ahead, Kirk.
Well,
Sorry, I had to
that's
hijack
okay.
the microphone.
Well, obviously the role is to stress adherence to ethics. It's a little bit difficult these days to set down specific ethical guidelines because you get sued, but certainly the associations can lead the way in promoting ethics in our practice. And John's right, lady here's right, there are lots of folks out there who are acting unprofessionally and unethically even though they hold a license. Holding that license doesn't guarantee that they're going to act the way they should, just like the rest of the world. But certainly the associations have the obligation and the opportunity to lead by the example.
Thank you. Did you have something?
I was just going to say, I think leading by example is the way to go. I think that everybody who typically belongs to those associations belong for that reason. They belong because they want to know more about ethics. They want to follow those ethics. And I think it's very important for us to continue to do that whenever we can.
It was posed to me one time by a very wise man that the association should say to folks out there, you're not good enough to be part of our organization because you're not acting ethically.
Next.
Can I?
Oh, just a minute.
Just one follow-up. This is really, I appreciate what you've said, and that's really good for those who are already in the profession and in our societies and are already working on this. But with the proliferation of massive amount of data that is now free on the internet, and people who don't understand why you would need a surveyor or any of this who are grabbing this information, that's even more dangerous.
And the challenge there is to try to have influence on not only those people, but the people they work for in terms of understanding the differences. And it's sad, but we may find ourselves in a position where these types of catastrophic things like knocking houses down and all those kind of things have to occur before the message ever becomes clear.